Countries in the Sahel region of Africa are among the most vulnerable to climate change, despite contributing very little to greenhouse gas emissions themselves. The area is already devastated by armed conflict, including intercommunal clashes and insurgencies by extremist groups such as IS, Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda affiliates. It's a devastating mix of conflict and climate change that's affecting people's lives. The BBC's Ishaq Khalid reports from Mopti in central Mali, one of the worst affected countries, where he travelled with the International Committee of the Red Cross. And a warning, this report contains images you may find distressing.
One of the driest places in the world, the Sahel region of Africa. Droughts are frequent here. Rainfalls are increasingly unpredictable, and farmlands have drastically degraded in recent years. This is mixing with armed violence by militants and communal clashes over resources. These are some of the scars of the armed conflict fueled by climate change. Abdulkarim Pujugu was on his farm along with colleagues when his village was attacked during conflict with pastoralists earlier this year. He was shot multiple times around his knee.
Some of my colleagues tried to stop the bleeding with a piece of cloth, and they carried me from the farm. But when we arrived at the hospital, the doctors explained to me that my wound was too deep and it was in a sensitive area. Even though they would remove the bullets, I would not survive. The only solution was to cut off my leg.
More than 90 amputees wounded in conflicts have been treated in the past 6 months in this orthopedic hospital run by the International Committee of the Red Cross. The Sahel is one of the poorest regions on earth. Nearly 30 million people are facing food shortages here, according to humanitarian agencies. More than 6 million need urgent assistance. The insecurity across the Sahel region of Africa has displaced millions of people. Some of them in this camp in Mopti, central Mali, are telling me that they have lost everything due to armed conflicts. Thousands have died. And climate change is also complicating things as competition between communities over shrinking water and land resources continues to be fiercer. Jena Babari is a direct victim of both armed conflict and the impact of climate change. Drought forced her pastoralist family to migrate multiple times from one village to another.
There was no water, and you know animals and humans would like to get water to drink. When there is no water, animals will get sick and die. There will be a lot of diseases. Animals will definitely die.
The experience of Jenaba's family was made worse when the village they had settled to rear their animals was attacked by armed men during communal violence. They fled, abandoning their cattle and sheep. Her husband is now presumed dead after being abducted during the deadly violence in 2018. The Sahel region is one of the worst hit by the impact of climate change, but many people here have little or no knowledge about the phenomenon and how to manage it. Visiting Mali recently, the head of the International Committee of the Red Cross says world leaders are not doing enough.
Many things need to be done, but as far as the ICRC is concerned, we need to zero in on those most vulnerable. And those most vulnerable are people I met in this camp, are people living in the Sahel, in the Horn of Africa, facing climate change firsthand, but also facing conflict. And those are today the people who are neglected by climate action and climate finance.
The pace of global efforts to tackle climate change is chronically slow. Armed conflicts in several countries across the Sahel region of Africa are worsening. The lives of millions of people remain at risk. Ishaq Khalid, BBC News, Mopti, Central Mali.
Let's take a brief look now at some of the other main news from around the world. And pro-Beijing candidates have claimed an overwhelming victory